Review. I did tell you that we're going to the DRC, and you have been seeing videos of protests. You've seen videos of a French embassy being burnt down. I want to play a quick video, then I introduce my guest. He's been here. In fact, I heard his voice on our promo this afternoon. The video that I'm going to play now, of course, I got it from his handle on Instagram, and these are the protesters who obviously are, I guess, I think he will explain to us what they're saying in the video, chanting and calling the name of President Tshisekedi. This video showing people protesting in the streets. Now, we also hear that certain rebels had taken over Goma, where we saw videos emanating from, and my guest is joining me. He is from the DRC, but he's joining us live from Ghana. Kambale Musavuli is an activist. He is a part of a group called Friends of the Congo, and he's been on Global Review before talking about the DRC, all of the killings that's been happening, the child slavery in the mines, and now there seems to be some political uprising, but he's going to give us a clearer picture of what's happening in the DRC. Kambale, it's so good to have you join us. I know that I was harassing you a few minutes ago to join us. Happy New Year is in order, I guess.
Yeah, it is indeed a new year. It's quite challenging for the people of the Congo right now, and we have to do whatever we can, to bring about peace and stability in that country.
Paint a picture to my audience as to what is happening in Goma. And why the people are protesting in the streets. And I mean, I saw the French embassy being burnt, and I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger all over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think African people, they are understanding the roots of their issues, right? So when you see Congolese going to protest in front of the French embassy, the US embassy, what they are pretty much saying is, while we may have African actors to our conflict, we know the international actors who are actually pulling the strings. This is the reason why they were there. And I mean, the situation in Goma is quite dire right now. For over a week, people do not have electricity, they don't have access to water, and even limited food. It's quite problematic. I mean, the rebels took over the city of Goma a couple of days ago. They have full control of the city of Goma as of now. And imagine being in a house with your family. You don't have water, you don't have electricity, and you can't buy any food, right? So that's being lost in all the analysis we may talk about, the M23 rebels and so on, is that the human cost of the actions to the people of Goma is equal to 2 million people. So why is Congo in the press? It's a historical challenge that we have, where for the past 30 years, Congo has not been able to control its land factors, even though we may talk about M23, external factors, particularly our neighbors, Rwanda and Uganda. They have invaded the Congo twice, in 96 and 98, and up until today, they continue to support proxy rebel militias who are facilitating the pilfering of Congo's resources.
So you're accusing Rwanda and a bit of Uganda of invading the DRC. Why would that even happen to start with? Why are they, in your words, trying to plunder the DRC? Is it because of the lack of governance? Is there because, I don't know, what exactly would inform, take for example, Nigeria invading Niger? Why would that be?
Minerals, right? It's very blunt. And it's not even an accusation when the evidence is presented. It's not me accusing Rwanda, right? It's the UN group of experts providing a report showing how the Rwandan military is providing sophisticated weaponry to the M23. And what is it that I'm talking about, right? The rebels in the Congo have the technology right now to jam GPS system so that planes cannot fly over Congo.
Wow.
Who has the technology? Rwanda does. And they put the evidence in the UN group of experts to report that this report was given to the Security Council. And Rwanda also had a chance to respond, right? Surface to air missile vehicle, right? Same vehicle to do what? These same vehicles are shooting down UN drones, right? Where did the M23 get it? Did they buy it in a store? No. We know who has that, right? And they're able to track it. So I think at this moment, like we could spend quite a long time discussing the evidence, but for the listeners, it would become overwhelming when I start presenting the evidence that there were drones shooting at South African soldiers, shooting at Congolese soldiers in the taking over Goma.
Wow.
Where did the M23 get assault drones? So we do know the evidence is there. The challenge now for the African continent is not for Congolese to prove the case. Right? This has been going on for it's about 29 years now, right? For the past 29 years, Congolese have shared with Africans in the world that there is a nation, actually two nations, Rwanda and Uganda, who are supporting rebel groups, who are going to the mines. They go to the mines, they take the mineral resources, and not just any type of mineral resources, right? They are taking the coltan. Coltan is a mineral resource used in your cell phone. You have this booming modern day technology. It's finding its way out. The UN group of experts is saying that the M23, every month, not a year, right? Every month, they make $800,000 on the taxation of mineral resources they're exploiting in the Rubaya mine, where they are controlling it, right?
Where is President Tshisekedi in all of this? Because it sounds to me like something that Boko Haram would do in the north, taking taxes from the people in the areas that they've taken over, which they can't do anymore because most of those territories have been taken from them. Where is President Tshisekedi in all of this? Because I want to believe that the DRC has a government that has some political will to deal with the issue, or is that not the case?
It is the case. I mean, I cannot be the spokesperson of the Congolese government, right? That's once, because for me, I will say the same thing as every ordinary Congolese, where we've challenged them, right? The Congolese government on Friday last week decided to close down the Rwandan embassy. They gave them 48 hours to close it down. Now the Rwandan embassy is closed. The first question that Congolese ask is, for the past 2 years, you've been saying that Rwanda is invading the Congo. How come you've kept the embassy open? You're giving legitimacy to the actions of Rwanda. So Congolese already in the streets, there are videos already circulating the sentiment of the Congolese with the inadequacy of the government. Now, the inadequacy of the government.
I'm so sorry, your connection is going off, but can you hear me?
Does not allow Congo.
Can you hear me, Kambale?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yes, I am hearing you. Okay. So the inadequacy of the Congolese government, right, does not give legitimacy to any nation to violate its territorial integrity. Congo is a member state of the African Union. No matter our internal challenge, it does not give permission to any other nation to just cross the border. So when we're speaking about how come the Congolese government is not able to do so, it's like asking Palestinians how come they're not able to stop Israel, right? The reality is that the M23, backed by the Rwandan Defense Force, are using sophisticated weapons, and whereby they even killed 14 South African soldiers who are actually in Congo fighting for peace and stability with the Congolese. And when we listen to the South African Defense Force, right, explaining.
Oh dear. Oh no, your connection is going off. Is someone trying to call you? They're distracting us from hearing all that you're saying. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? Your connection has gone off again. Can you hear me? Oh my goodness. Apologies for the connection problems, but Kambale, can you hear me again? Oh dear. In case you're just joining us, it's Global Review. We're talking with Kambale Musavuli. He is in the DRC, and he's been talking to us about what's happening in Goma. Claims to be an invasion of Uganda and, of course, the Rwandans. Kambale, I don't know if you can hear me now because your connection is going on and off. It's a bit tricky. Okay.
I can hear you. I changed connection, so let's see if this one will work.
Yeah, this is better. This is way better. so we can take the other one out. Okay, great. Go ahead.
So the point I'm making is that the Congolese government is facing a military that has sophisticated weapon. And these sophisticated weapons were not manufactured in Rwanda, right? Rwanda received its weapon from Western nations, particularly the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the European Union. Why do they get this sophisticated weapon? It's because Rwanda is an ally to this nation. So they do military actions for Western nations. So for example, last year, the European Union gave Rwanda 20 million euros of military aid. Poland last year, right, the Polish president visited Rwanda, and after his visit, a Polish company sold to the Rwandan government an anti-drone radar. When you open the UN report and you read the evidence provided by the UN group of experts, they are saying that the M23 is using anti-drone radars and they are able to shoot down UN drones with some vehicle, right? So I can go on and on with the fact that I think it's beyond allegation anymore whenever evidence is already presented. The question now, right, after 29 years of conflict in the Congo, the question becomes, what will Africans do to bring about peace and stability in the Congo, regardless of what they believe? Western nations may take action, right? But this is more an appeal on African nations. No matter what you believe, is it okay for over 6 million Congolese to die, regardless of the narrative that you may present? So the appeal that the Congolese are putting out is for Africans to be much more engaged in bringing about peace and stability in the DRC, so that we don't have family members, friends, and colleagues that we work with letting us know that for the past week they have not had food, they have not had water, they have not had electricity in their home.
I think when you and I were chatting, I did ask a question as to if we as Africans have also failed to spotlight what's happening or what has been happening in the DRC, as opposed to how we're carrying the issue of Palestine and Israel on our heads, or what was happening between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, and not to undermine what we're talking about, but there's also that same situation in Sudan, but we never let it be front and center. And I'm wondering to myself why we've continued to fail to push for the issues that we're facing in Africa, especially for the DRC. I mean, you and I have had this conversation for years, actually. Almost 3 years we've been having this conversation over and over again, whether it's on TV or on radio. Why do you think that Africa is not concerning itself with what's happening in the DRC as much as whatever else is happening out across, the pond?
I believe because they're not informed, right? I do believe if Africans actually knew what is happening in the Congo, they would stand up for Congo, right? And they've done that with South Africa. When Africans understood that there was an apartheid regime in South Africa, it took a very long time, but when Africans understood what apartheid was, they stood up. Nowhere the apartheid regime could go across the African continent where an African country will let them do whatever they needed, right? So in this case also, we want to make sure that Africans look at the situation in Congo from the same perspective. It is not that complex to understand what is happening. We can understand that there is a Swato land. We can understand there have been no resources. We can also understand that we are talking about AI these days, DeepSeek, ChatGPT. These computers and the servers, all the system to build these AI models can't function without the Congo. But we have a neo-colonial agent of the West in the heart of Africa. So we as Africans, especially journalists, have a huge role to play. I would love, even if journalists disagree with the analysis Congolese will present, I would love the discussion of the Congo to be in every single house in Africa. Why? Because the founding fathers of the AU, Kwame Nkrumah is one of the founding fathers, knew already in the 50s and the 60s the centrality of the Congo for the future of Africa. That he said that an injury to the Congolese was an injury to the African continent, right? That he knew that the Congo River can provide electricity to the entire African continent.
and he supported Congolese. That's why Patrice Lumumba was in Ghana in 1958 at the All-African People's Conference, whereby he received a mission for the Pan-African leaders who were at that conference, that your country, Congo, is a continent. I always call it this, it's a continent because of its size. And when you start thinking about the wealth Congo has, and you see that it's the only African country with 9 bordering nations, its wealth estimated at $2 trillion, that it can actually be the driving force. So I'm not confused that Congo is where it is today. As long as Africans do not know what's happening in the Congo, as long as the situation continues to persist, Africa will not advance to the future.
Every time we have this conversation, I think about Brazzaville. How come there's no problem in Brazzaville, but it's always the DRC? And you told me, obviously, it's the wealth in the ground. Now, this UN investigative team that has come up with all of this information. We just had the United Nations General Assembly in New York sometime in October or September. How come these issues have not continuously been raised? There was the World Economic Forum in Davos. We're talking about the economies of different places, and Africa was, on the platform. You saw my vice president talk. How come these issues are not pushed on those platforms, as opposed to maybe just talking about the fact that, Africa is poor, what about the fact that the accusations that the West is using Africans to kill Africans so they can get the wealth of Africa? I mean, back here in Nigeria, the reason why we have banditry in the Northwest is because of the gold in Zamfara. And so it's almost the same thing. How come these are not the issues that are dominating the conversations at these world forums, especially when children are used as slaves in the mines in the DRC to get our phones, to get our laptops? Are we all not complicit? I'm just trying to understand it. Maybe I'm just rambling.
Yeah, but I do think that partly they are addressed, they are brought up in these forums. For example, at the UN Security Council, right? They have mandated a UN group of experts to give them a report of what's happening in the Congo twice a year. And they do that work, and it's presented. And what happened at the Security Council is that we condemn, and not take any action, right? And why do they not take any action? Because there are some countries on the Security Council benefiting from the instability in the Congo. I will never shy away to always say that the war in the Congo is a resource war waged by US and British allies, Rwanda and Uganda. We invaded the Congo twice in 96 and 98 and continue to support proxy rebel militia. So when I make that sentence, I make it clear to people to understand that the US and the United Kingdom are benefiting. And they are permanent members of the Security Council. And they will block any action. But can it change? Of course it can change. It's not going to change because of these platforms. It's going to change because of ordinary citizens. Can you imagine the shift we saw in public opinion about what is happening in Palestine? It wasn't because the United States government wanted to actually be on the right side of history. It's because ordinary citizens said it does not make sense that U.S. taxpayers' money can continue to do so. So that work, right, has been done by a lot of activists throughout many decades. That's what we are calling for the Congo. It's not that we need to compare ourselves with what's happening in Palestine, because I also know for a fact that Palestinians have been in solidarity with us. I'm literally a witness to that, where Palestinians organized protests in New York City on behalf of the Congolese, going after a hedge fund trying to get money from the Congo. And we've shared and compare notes. But what I'm saying is that in the consciousness of Africans, right, if in your country you're not able to see the connection that you have with the Congo, and you don't see it as a problem close to you, you will not think about it. I can tell you, for example, that for the past 3 days, the amount of contact I receive from South Africa is tremendous. The reason why is because South Africans are asking me, why did we lose 14 South African soldiers in the Congo? Now they're paying attention, right? And that's what I've always said, that if we don't pay attention about the Congo, it will affect us in such shape and form, because our leaders have some positions. We should know, what is Tinubu's position on the Congo?
As the ECOWAS chairman. Let's go on a quick break, Kambale. When we come back, let's talk more about the ECOWAS and the African Union and their position on the issue of the DRC. It's still Global Review on Hard Facts. We'll be right back after these messages.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
In the kitchen game, there are players and then Agba Ballers. MVP, Player of the Year, 10-0, no rival. Become an Agba Baller with the new improved Maggi chicken flavor. The game changer, made with a flavorful formation of onions, celery, turmeric to bring out your top game in the kitchen. Elevate the taste of your everyday dishes with delicious rich chicken flavor. Oh yeah, let's go.
New Maggi chicken flavor, the game changer.
You define better odd. I be you one play cause over 1.5. I be you one bet. Say both seem no go score at all. Yeah, we get better pay. I'll go on. No worry, we there for you. Our odd chapurata. In all day for bet baba. We win money. Bet baba. Cash out today easy or bet baba. We get online games for you to play. Oh God, all I want. Yeah. We get better bonus. My name is not Welcome to Bet Baba.
Register now on betbaba.ng. Not for people under 18.
Mr. Teacher, please, what happens when children come to school? How is it that they leave home very neat and return looking so different?
Non-stop action, ma. All the learning and sports burn energy. So those sweat stains, torn uniforms, and dirty shoes, they show that your kid has been very active.
Now, wow.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo!
Meals have a way of taking us on a journey. And when you add plenty of vegetables like efo, ugu, and season with the rich taste of North seasoning cubes, even better.
So, go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of Knorr cubes. Today, eat for good.
Good morning, my people. Now your pilots, they hail una. Today we get special passengers for inside plane. 3 Betano members, they go England to go watch Aston Villa match live. Big congratulations to Emeka, Yemi, and Ibrahim.
Play with Betano and you will get a chance to enter UK for free to go watch the match between Aston Villa and Tottenham. Betano, now proud partner of Aston Villa. Play responsibly. Now only for people who don't pass 18 years. This promo go they run from November 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2025.
When you wake up on the wrong side of your bed, you wake up with a bad mood. It could affect your car. Before you know it, when you sleep on the wrong mattress, you'd always wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Sleep good and start your day right with Vitafoam's range of great quality mattresses and furniture. Visit www.vitafoamng.com or any of our authorized distributors nationwide. Vitafoam, the fine art of living.
It gets to come moment for this life where you and your honorables no fit forget lie. Now na your time to show the world this moment. Oh, if you get them for picture, post them on top social media. Use the hashtag honorable moment. Don't forget to tag your honorables too. Make the world see, make the world know say you get honorable people for your corner. Terms and conditions apply. Honorable, brewed with honor.
Attention Lagos, the Canada Connect Education Fair is coming to you. Join us on February 8th at Bon Hotel, 51 Sobo Arobiodo Street, Ikeja, starting 10 a.m. Meet representatives from top Canadian institutions, Georgian College, Confederation College, and get answers to all your questions about studying in Canada. Discover postgraduate work permit, eligible programs, and visa tips, all under one roof. Take the first step into your dream of studying abroad. Don't miss out. For more information, visit studentdirect.ca/Canada. That is studentdirect.ca/Canada to register, or call Damilola on 0806 499 7125 0806 499 7125, or call Jumoke on 0810-803-5008. That is 0810-803-5008. See you there.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Millions of listeners trust us on Hard Fact. Whether it's politics, social issues, controversies, and trending stories, you know we're credible and objective.
It's Hard Facts with Maryann Okon on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Well, if you're just joining us, the program is still Hard Facts and Global Review as we look at what's been happening in the DRC. And like I said earlier on, I have had these conversations over and over and over again with my guest. In fact, I knew him because of this DRC situation, and we're still talking about it in 2025, and that's because it has really literally spiraled out of control. And for those who do not believe what he's been talking about, there's a special UN report that investigated this, and it's there in black and white, for those of you who want to ask me. But then I also have a video of the MR3 rebels walking through Goma, even granting interviews, and this is one way or the other, spreading fear in the hearts and mind of the people in the city of Goma. And I want to play that video quickly and then bring my guest back into the conversation. You know, this is Hard Facts, and so we always want to come here with some proof for you so that you understand or put a face to what we're talking about. So we're live on YouTube, facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. This is a video that's playing now on our screens of what's been happening in the city of Goma. For those of you who do not believe it, these are rebel groups advancing through the city of Goma. In fact, one of them who's a spokesperson of the rebel group was granting an interview. It's interesting how Africa is being invaded by Africa in 2025. But like my guest said, what must we do as the rest of Africa to deal with this issue? But before we get into that, let's start by talking about what the AU and ECOWAS, even though, the DRC is not part of ECOWAS, but then, of course, there are conversations that need to be had, whether they're in the west of Africa or in the central of Africa or in the north of Africa. Africa is Africa. And so, Kambale, I want to come back to you to ask you, what would you be asking for the for African leaders to do? How do they come in here, especially for the African Union, where we have all of them? There are those who also think that the African Union has become a group of leaders who are self-centered and not even delivering good governance to their people. So how are they expected to even wade into this matter, except you are here to prove me wrong?
My appeal is not just to these bodies, right? I can show the contradiction of the African Union. I can show the contradiction of ECOWAS. It's more for the people of Africa and the people of West Africa. The situation in the Congo is connected to also West Africa. I just use one example. Did you know that Paul Kagame provides military support to Talon of Benin? That the security apparatus of Benin is now run by the Rwandan intelligence. This is not even hidden. I mean, there was a press conference when he came. What I loved about what happened at the press conference is that there were journalists in the room who actually asked him about the Congo. So these journalists in Benin understood that he couldn't just come and have press conference with Talon and say that there is now bilateral
relations
agreement between the country and so on, right? And Rwanda does that with a lot of African countries, right? So anywhere they go way beyond just Central Africa. They go beyond East Africa. That whenever they come, the fundamental question we should ask is, can you please stop killing the Congolese people? That's a very basic question. And why am I saying that very forcefully that way, right? For Congolese, we're clear about the invaders. We're clear about what is happening to us. We believe that Congo's wealth is not just Congolese people's wealth, it's African people's wealth. As long as Congo is not able to be stable, we can't even harness that power to transform the African continent. That wealth being pilfered in the Congo is not helping Rwandan people. Rwandan people are still suffering. I mean, just look at the last election in Rwanda. Paul Kagame declared himself as the winner with 99%. And African leaders are watching. That we all know it doesn't even make sense for him to win by 99%. And we let that go, right? That should already give you an indication. If this is what's happening to the Rwandans, Rwandans are not benefiting from the wealth. It's an elite. But who is mostly benefiting from the wealth? Western nations. Why do I say so? The European Union in 2024 signed an agreement with Rwanda on critical minerals. What are the critical minerals? Coltan, cobalt, lithium. Why is the European Union signing an agreement to get the minerals to use in the electronic device in Rwanda? When we all know it's not coming from Rwanda. So in the end, Africans are not benefiting. Rwandans are not benefiting. It's an elite in Rwanda and Western nations. So that's why we have to say to ourselves, and I always use this example, if you don't have power in your house, you should worry about the situation in the Congo, because Congo could provide electricity to the entire African continent.
You have said
at
that
some
before.
part of the Africa.
You have said that before.
But, so even on food security, Congo can feed 9 billion people. We're not 9 billion people on the African continent. We are 1 billion, right? That Congo alone could feed the entire African continent. We have famine in different parts of the African continent. And its wealth and its youth, we are the second largest African country by size, fourth by population. And our population is supposed to double in the next 15 years. We are 120 million. So we're getting close to Nigeria's maybe in the next 15 to 20 years, right? In terms of our population, that the most important resource of the Congo is its people, and particularly the youth, because half of that population are young people. And these young people have never invaded another African country. These young people have never sought to destroy another African country. These young people just want to have a say in the politics and choosing their own leaders, and they just want peace and stability to reign on the land of Patrice Lumumba.
Interesting. Well, I want to open up the phone lines and bring Lagosians into this conversation. I'm at a loss for words. Now, I have traveled by road around East Africa. I have gone on foot from Uganda into Rwanda. And I've gathered a lot of information which I can't, divulge on the radio, but I have seen and heard things, and it really saddens my heart that, whilst Nigerians are complaining about outsiders, and when we say outsiders, not Africans coming in to take our wealth from our ground, the DRC is saying our neighbors are the ones who are conniving with outsiders to take our wealth and destroy us. Well, Lagos, the phone lines are open. 0201-277-0993 is the number to call. For the ladies, 0201-465-7190. Kambale Musavuli is here with us live via Zoom. On WhatsApp, it's 080-959-75805. We'd like to hear from you. And if you're just wondering, I'll play you a video again of the